This is Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Megatron from Transformers Earthspark. We're going to be taking a look at all three of them today. Are these figures good for adult collectors? Probably not, but let's find out. Quick disclaimer, the Megatron video is an older video smacked onto the end of this video, so you can watch all three reviews in one place if you haven't seen that video yet. Totally not a tactic for extra YouTube watch time. Now let's start off with Optimus Prime. He does come with some accessories. We'll take a look at the blaster and axe later. So let's take a look at the figure. Right away we'll notice the character's animated design. He does seem to resemble how he appears in the show pretty well. First thing you'll notice is that his mouthpiece is just very wide, which is accurate to the show. The rest of the head sculpt though is pretty good. He's got his iconic blue eyes with some nice silver paint, classic smokestacks as always. On the shoulders you got his Autobot insignia, which is done differently, and it seems like it was done a bit poorly on my copy of the figure, at least on this side, because this side seems fine. The rest of the sculpt work on the arms is pretty bulky. Like, all this is kind of messy. Turn him over on the inside, nothing too much there. This entire area doesn't look too bad. It pretty much looks just like his G1 counterpart, with the chest piece and the headlights being up there, and then this abdomen section, which is a faux front piece. The actual front piece is in here, and we'll get to that later. I do want to mention the backpack on this figure is pretty atrocious. It's very bulky. This is pretty much the entire front section of the vehicle mode, and it doesn't really look too great. Further down, you got some nice yellows and silver paint going on throughout the crotch piece. Legs, pretty much basic stuff, molded in a blue plastic with some gray on there. His feet are very jaggedy, but other than that, not a whole lot going on to this figure. The articulation is pretty standard. You can get a decent number of poses with him. The head is a little tight, but you can get it to spin a full 360. Arms can move out. You can spin him a full 360 as well. Bicep rotation. These hands are on a ball joint, so you can bring them in and rotate them, which a lot of deluxe class figures don't even have. I'm looking at used Studio Series A Razor, Bumblebee, and Jazz. Not even all Voyager classes have that. I guess they were able to do that because this does go in here for the transformation. You get an elbow bend. There is a waist rotation, which we'll see more of in the transformation, but for now it's kind of blocked off by all this. You get a leg rotation and a pretty good knee bend. There is a foot pivot, but no foot rotation. Here's a few size comparisons, and here he is standing next to a literal war criminal and the optional girl. As you can see, he is on the smaller side because he's a deluxe class figure, and the more submissive and breedable of all Optimus Primes.
I love the kind of woman that will actually just kill me.
Let's move over to the weapons. I'm not a big fan of the ion blaster. There's a lot of hollow bits to it. I do kind of like the blue at the end, and it does resemble his other ion blasters, which I would grab one for comparison, but I don't know where one is right now. And here's a closer look at the axe. Pretty basic, not a whole lot going on, just two different colors of blue. And then each will fit in his hand. No problems going on there. Here's the Build-A-Figure leg that comes with Optimus Prime. It's just a leg. I don't know what more you want me to say. Now, an alternate configuration you could do with this figure, if you don't like the backpack a whole lot, can kind of move this out, fold it in, bring it back up, and maybe you could have it angled or just kind of have it like that. Either way works. I personally think it might look a little bit better like that, but I mean, the correct way is it's supposed to tab into there. Not a big fan of that. But now for the transformation, fairly simple. Let's bring in the hands on both sides of the figure, and this is a very noisy figure. These wheels are going hot. We're gonna turn the head around like this, and then just pop it in there. Now we can untap that, lower this section, and then there's that front grille piece for the vehicle mode. Here, let's keep it up there for now. Let's move out the hands so we can rotate the figure around. We'll take the weapon, place it in there, unhinge this waist. It needs to pop out like that, and then make sure that doesn't fall out. So bring that out, and then, god damn it. This is kind of awkward and tough to do. We'll bring this in here, so that way we can get the legs in place. Once again, this fell out. Put that back. We're just not going to use this now. Next, we'll take the arms and just pretty much bring them in like that and bring this around. Basically, the classic Optimus Prime stuff. Adjust it all into place. Next, we can bring this front piece down and get it in place. Oops. Fuck. Now this part needs to go inside this bit of the truck, so, which is a little god fucking damn it. Just try to get it in there properly like that. So let's do that on this side. Bring it in there. There we go. Fucking hate this figure. Bring that back. Just that all into place. And now we can just make sure this is tabbed into place properly. And just make sure this section is tabbed into there. And then this part does need to angle up like that. It looks kind of weird, but that's how it's supposed to be. And then lastly, make sure these feet are in all the way. And then there is the final vehicle mode for Optimus Prime. It looks like shit. The wheels on this figure look pretty plain. It does also feel fairly cheap, but once again, it was like $20. I really don't like this gap over here. Also, this figure is very noisy, so I apologize for that. The front of the truck mode looks fine, not my favorite. The paint matching is pretty atrocious. This is all gray plastic, and this is painted silver, so that's not very good. Not a whole lot of detail to speak on. I mean, you got the windows on the side, that's about it. His blaster is supposed to go back in there during the transformation if you were able to get that right. And then his axe just pretty much goes in here, and there's that. Also, I don't think I went over the box art for Optimus Prime. It's pretty standard stuff. I don't care. I do not care. So is the Optimus Prime figure good for adult collectors? No. Now let's move on to Bumblebee. Here is Bumblebee. By the way, guys, let me know in the comments below, out of all these 3 figures, which one you like. It is crucial for me to know, otherwise I will literally die. Box art, once again, you got nice artwork of Bumblebee. The rest of the box art is the same as Optimus Prime. From what I've seen so far, I really do like the vehicle mode of this figure, but let's open up the figure and see if I actually do like it. So he comes with just one accessory. Once again, we'll take a look at that later. And here's the Build-A-Figure thing. Now, so far, I think Bumblebee looks much better than Optimus Prime.
I'm better! I am better!
I think the mold and sculpt work on this figure is done much better. I do kind of like how the head incorporates that G1 style and the little cat ears, but honestly, I'm not a super big fan of the head though, so like the entire yellow part looks pretty good I think, but the face sculpt looks kind of off to me. I mean, I guess it's just part of that animated style. The blue eyes on him are pretty nice, and the rest of the face sculpt is pretty simple with his nose, mouth, and that tiny chin piece there. Quick look at the back of the head. There's nothing to talk about here. I do think these shoulder pieces are way too massive for the figure. It doesn't seem very proportionate. It just feels like it's a really obvious part of the car mode that sticks out. Like other incarnations of Bumblebee, he does have the door wings with some translucent windows, so that is pretty cool. Some pretty basic work for the arms, and just like the Optimus Prime figure, the arms are hollow. That does seem to be a recurring theme with these figures, but since it is for the transformation, I can't complain too much. It would be nice if they had some sort of flap, but that probably wasn't in the budget for the figure. And once again, these figures only cost like $20. So now I think the chest piece looks really cool with the racing stripes and the Autobot logo smack dab in the middle. I think it's done really well and kind of gives him a sporty look. Down over to the abdomen and crotch piece, there's a little bit of molded detail and some panel working going on. It does kind of throw me off how this part is black and then this part right here is gray. I'm not sure why they couldn't do it in all one color. It could be how the character is in the show. I haven't seen it. Now these parts of the legs don't really look the greatest, I think. There's a helicopter flying by. There's always a helicopter flying by in this city. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. Same with the feet at the bottom. Something about it just doesn't seem right. The sculpt of the doors is done pretty nicely, I think. And on the back of the figure, his entire top section is just folded up. And it is like that for a lot of Bumblebee figures. Overall, the aesthetics of the figure look alright. And here he is next to some other Bumblebee figures. In terms of articulation, you do get a full 360 head rotation. Not a whole lot of up and down movement. These doors can move. This entire section rotates 360. And as you can see, it's on a ball joint over there. And this section is on a hinge joint, so it can move up and down. This part of the arm is also on an individual joint, so you can move it forward and back. Ball joint on the elbow, so you can bring them in and move them around. Hand movement, this can move in for the transformation. Absolutely no waist rotation, which is disappointing. Leg can move out, it can move to the side. You can bring it back, but this back piece kind of gets in the way. And this leg piece is on a ball joint. This part can rotate as well. You get a knee bend that goes past 90. This can hinge like that for the transformation. And now it doesn't seem like it's going to go back in. Oh no, what have I done? So like that on this side also? Oh, it's like that. I'm an idiot. The feet can move back and forth, movement right there, and a foot pivot. Here is Bumblebee's weapon. I do think it looks pretty cool. I think the paint applications are done really well. It does also kind of look like a spaceship. Goes on fairly simple, and he looks pretty cool with it. Here's a quick look at the Build-A-Figure arm. I do like the paint quality. Well, I was gonna say, I think the paintwork on here looks cool. Now for the transformation, which is fairly basic, let's just straighten out these doors at the back. We'll take the hands and bring them into the arms. Same with this one. Go ahead and fold it in. We're going to take the arms and fold them in like this, and then just get it underneath this part of the car. Same with this one. Go ahead and do that. And now we can bring both of these up front, come to the back of the figure, or we're just going to unfold all this. And it can be a bit tricky to do because the back piece does get in the way. That happens a lot too. But on the bright side, now I can show you there is some nice detail on the back of the figure. Now let's just get this back on. It might be easier to unfold if you bring this all the way up, and then we can take all this out. Now bring these sections in together, make sure they tab in place. Come down to the feet, rotate them 180. Now rotate the feet 180, and then once we rotate them, we're just gonna bring them in, and it does need to tab into place. There's a hinge joint over here, so that way we can bring this in, and then when you bring it in, make sure it does tab in with the door, like so. Make sure it all tabs into place properly. Go ahead and do the same on the other one, and then adjust everything else in place. Make sure these are down, and you know what? This is close enough.
I don't care.
So the vehicle mode does look pretty cool from this front part. I do feel like these back pieces are really bulky and kind of throw me off. If these side pieces were slimmer, I do think the entire vehicle mode would look better. The racing stripes down the middle are pretty cool looking. All the windows are translucent. I do want to mention that these parts are paint, and I do think the paint matching is done pretty well. It's got blue headlights, some nice grill detail at the front, some minor detail on the back, and the back of the figure looks alright. There is a bit of detail on the wheels. They're not plain like the Optimus Optimus Prime figure. He does roll much better than Optimus Prime though. He does have weapon storage, this goes on top right there, and I do think this blends in with the figure pretty well. Now on to Megatron. If you've seen this review already, then feel free to stick around or leave. I don't actually, please stay. Packaging, Megatron over there, here's the back. Also notice how they show the cannon twice on the box art. Here's Megan, and he does have a much more angular style than his G1 counterpart. And while this figure does have a few problems, it's not bad. A few things I don't like about this figure are the kibble pieces on the side because it really obstructs the arms. And they don't seem like they're easily removable, and I'm afraid to break them. These collar pieces are a bit too high, limiting the head rotation, and it has a bit too many hollow pieces for my liking, mainly on the arms and the legs over here, and a bit for the feet. But this part is meant for the transformation, which we will get to. All that aside, the rest of the figure isn't too bad. The mold of the head sculpt is alright, the back is fairly plain, he has his red eyes, and I feel like his mouth is very plain, making him have a very deadpan neutral face. He has a bit of a design on the chin, which is kind of hard to make out. The chest piece doesn't look too bad. You have some of these red bits up here, along with the rest of it being a semi-shiny silver. You have his Decepticon symbol here, the cockpit for the vehicle mode, some nice red on the sides. Onto the arms, I do feel like these shoulder pieces are a bit bulky, and they do have a bit of panel working going all the way around. You have some silver paint over there. The rest of the arms, not too much going on. There's a bit of red on the forearm, but other than that, not too much detail. Here's a closer look at those hands. This part is gray with the fingers being a grayish black. The crotch area is a metallic gray with some nice sculpting on there. Over to the side skirts, you have a bit of paneling there, and if you take a look right over here, you can see 3 missiles. The legs have these silver bits here, and the rest of the legs being primarily black with a tiny amount of designs going on, and the feet being very basic. A look at the back of the figure, you'll see more of the vehicle mode parts. You also have this back skirt piece, and then not too much going on here. He does come with 1 cannon, and the sculpting of this is alright. It's nothing special. You can plug it into the side of the arm. He does also come with an arm, and it's got a nice texture to it? I don't know. Here he is next to 2 versions of Beast Wars Megatron, some deluxe class figures from the Legacy line, and as you can see, size scaling aside, it doesn't really proportion well with the other figures in terms of design, and Megatron from the Ultimate Battle 2-pack. Now for articulation, the head can spin all the way around, but it does run into the collar, so I would be careful about that. The arm can move up like this, mainly for the transformation, but it does work for the robot mode. This arm is on a ball joint, so it can move back and forth and a little bit up and down. It can also rotate a full 360. This part of the arm is on a hinge joint. There is an elbow bend, and you can rotate it from there. Oops. These side pieces also have 360 rotation. These skirt pieces are on a ball joint, so they have a good range of movement to them. The leg can move forward. You get a really good knee bend. You can bring them out to the side. This skirt piece can move up, and then you can move the legs back. There is a thigh rotation. The feet also do have a pivot. This can move for the transformation. The articulation on this figure isn't the best, and I had a hard time getting it in more dynamic poses. Now the transformation on this figure is super simple. First we turn the figure around to bring this up, then we pull the figure up, separating the legs. Use the hinge joints to bring up both of these arm pieces, and then we need to snap them into place, which can be kind of difficult to do. Okay, I think that's as close as we're gonna get it. Next, we can rotate both of these arm pieces, and then bring the arms down and tab these into place. Same over here on this side. Now the instructions kind of complicate that part, but this way is easier. Now we can bring the skirt pieces out to the side, close in the feet, try not to drop the figure. Now we can rotate the legs and bring them in like so. Same with this side. And we need to get this to snap into place, but the connection on mine is loose, so I'm not able to do it properly. Now we can close that piece, and there we have whatever this is. Now I'm sure this looks much better in the show, and it doesn't look too bad here either. I don't really like how the arms stick out like that. I think it's very noticeable. I'm really not a big fan of this faux cock piece area. This is the actual cock piece for the vehicle mode. These skirt pieces coming up to the side with the missiles being there doesn't really make any sense because now they can't fire. And like I said earlier, this piece doesn't tab in all the way. The blades can spin, which is nice. These should also be able to rotate, but they cannot on the figure. For a $20 deluxe class figure, it looks alright. You have some detail on the front piece, once again with that nice silver and some panel working. Not too much crazy designs going on at the top, and once again, the underneath of the figure looks just alright, my biggest complaint being this chest piece here. Now the weapon can split in 2. The connection is very tight on it, so it takes a little bit of finessing. But once you get it like that, you can store these on the vehicle mode with this piece going there and that piece going there. And while it does make it look asymmetrical, it is something. And the connection is super tight. I'm afraid I'm gonna break these by taking them off. Yeah, they're really stuck on there now. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is that he does have some faux wheels at the back, but not a single one at the front. All 3 of these figures are just okay. They're pretty subpar. They're not really for adult collectors, so I wouldn't recommend them. Check out this video over here. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe. And a big thank you to all my patrons.